relationship is like two strands of the DNA. As DNA is the essence of love in physical form, the unity of two become one out of an openness and longing to create as one. Eventually, the form of these pure and balanced unities create the flower of life as itself, and with that, the ability to manifest worlds. Hello everybody, my name is Bobbie Richardson and this is another Ascension message from my team, my guides. I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about how that actually works. So before I actually get into a channel message with my team, I've really become more enlightened about how this all goes. So all my life I've had a very strong connection to my soul. I'm very lucky and privileged to have at least be curious enough to go down those rabbit holes and figure out some of the cryptic messages and so forth that have come my way, learning as I went. It's a whole other language when you come from feeling. But in the process, I've been guided through my life into many bizarre situations, met many amazing people, spiritual people in my life without even trying, including Cherokee elders, David Icke, Max Ingham, other people, Mary Rodwell. Yeah, you know, there's been quite a few anyway in my journeys, and some funny stories that I will be bringing up in later YouTubes. So today we're going to just discuss a little bit about the channeling, since I've had some new insight into actually how this works, and then we will get into a channeled message from my team, and I'm going to call them my team from now on because I have that fuller understanding of how it works. So every soul has their own journey that they have gone through, but at the core of everything, a soul is in energetic alignment with source energy. So source energy is just love going on a journey, branching off through different threads. It's seen all over nature. We have the threads going through the leaves of a tree, in the roots. We have the threads going through, you know, Earth Gaia herself as she splits and creates with the earthquakes and so forth. We have it branching off from the lightning. This is source energy in a contained environment, expressing itself, branching off into different fractions. So our soul, in essence, is that branching off from source energy. So as it branches off, we have different adventures that we go on and accumulate wisdom through those adventures. And eventually the new soul that branches off starts to become more and more aware of different environments that it can create, because we are source energy, and at the heart of everything we just love creating an adventure. And the different decisions that we make and choices that we make that weave our path. Are we going to keep on looping around the same bizarre story that just keeps us in that reality, or are we going to use our imagination and branch off into something else? Because there is only one thing that can really branch us off from a perpetual story or a loop that we've caught ourselves into, and that is in our imagination. Why? Because our imagination doesn't just hold the memory of this life, which is what the job for the logical part of ourselves, our logical personality, is containing and allowing us to have an experience of birth through life through to death in a linear fashion. But our soul also contains many different facets of higher frequencies that we can experience life in a completely different way through the essence of our soul as light, and through the essence of our soul as a material form. So when I'm connecting with my guides are also have gone on their individual journey, but we kind of pod together in a lot of those journeys because we have the same frequency, which pulls us, magnetizes us together, and because we love each other, and there's that sort of collaborative journey that we can go on. But just like any soul, they can branch off and go somewhere else, and then maybe come back. You know, you see that in the butterfly's wings, in a dragonfly's wings, where they have that coming back, but branching off. So we're always constantly doing that, and that means that we're all individually creating something different, and have different wisdom that we can pull together. But especially since we're, as humans, we've lost that capacity to connect to our soul in a purposeful manner to expand our reality. So we were really in need of our guides to be able to cryptically give us clues and send us messages and coincidences to lead us on a path. And so my guides, being that I had a strong connection to them because I've come straight from a higher frequency into this body, and now here to help guide others back into higher frequency for humanity's consciousness, for the benefit of growth, for every individual on this planet has the opportunity now to expand. When I connect to my higher self, which is my soul, I'm all of a sudden in a frequency where these other beings can talk to me as well and give me their wisdom, impart their wisdom, and I have such an equal feeling with them, and understanding with them, that I trust the information that's coming through because it's in alignment for the love of myself and for the environment that I'm learning to create. So when I'm channeling, yes, I can channel Palladians, and yes, I can channel Arcturians, and I can tap into many other fractions as well, because I have been visited by other sides of the story. The Anunnaki have visited me. That's a story in itself. And like the Andromedans and so forth. And every time I get a connection, I can feel the truth of it, because I'm already connecting to my soul and in a higher frequency when that happens. So I have to say shush to my logical mind. I don't want to hear this isn't real story. This is and just allow it to quieten down so that we can get some new information coming through, some new wisdom coming through from my higher self and my guides and so forth. So this is how I do it. And so from now on, when I say I'm going to channel, I've decided I'm going to call it my team, but I can loop in and feel, oh my gosh, this is Palladian energy. Oh crikey, I can feel the Arcturians coming through now. So there will be a feeling of difference there, but it's still my team, and we can connect only because I can connect to my higher self. So it's really my higher self, my soul connection through to them. Hopefully that will give you a bit more of an understanding how this actually works. So what I want to do today is to bring forth my team of higher frequencies, so that we can gift you some more information about these new energies that are coming. So this is all about connecting to our higher energies and our higher frequencies, so that we can utilize the new energies coming in. And the new energies coming in are conducive to us living from our hearts and through love of ourselves, and then connecting to other people that will do exactly the same, like they will be coming from the love of themselves. And so there's no more grasping for somebody to fill a hole within us. We've already filled those gaps within with the new energies aligning us and showing us where we've been grasping outside of ourselves to feel something within us. you start to notice too, the more that you give to others, the more that they feel inspired to give back to you too. So there's always a reciprocal energy that happens through giving, and not expecting somebody to return anything, but you're giving because you feel already filled up within yourself. So that's showing me a projector, and that this reality is a projected screen, or a projected picture of our consciousness running through a program. They're showing me that the more the aperture of the projector is allowed to open, and that it can handle more light, the more vast and clearer our reality becomes. But if you had a closed off aperture of a camera, and then you straight away open it, it's just bright white light. That's very similar to moving into a different higher frequency in a rush. We'd all be blinded by that light, so to speak. So it's a good idea to allow the process to happen in a fashion where you can slowly open your mind and your consciousness to more and more and more. And that is including your logic. Your logic needs to come on board for this to be grounded. You cannot create something with your right brain, imagine something coming through and say that I'm going to create this, but your logical brain's telling you that's a load of crock, it's never going to happen, because it will never happen. So that's why they bring in through coincidences with each of us, just to train our logical mind. They want us to ask questions, more questions, like asking to see more coincidences, asking to get more premonition dreams, asking to see beyond, constantly feel, but don't grasp for anything. Just ask it and trust that that information will come through in a timing where you probably didn't even expect it until afterwards, and then you look at it and go, oh, that actually happened. My manifestation did come true. Wow. But usually you need to have this let go feeling, because that means you totally trust you're manifesting into your reality. You can't manifest into your reality when you're constantly searching for it, because if you're constantly searching for it, then it's only telling your universe that you don't trust it. So your logical mind's constantly searching for it, and then the universe is like, oh, they just want to keep searching. So you end up keep searching, and you just keep trying and searching instead of actually manifesting it or grounding it into reality. And that's because your logical brain isn't on board still. When you're grasping outside yourself for something to happen, that means that your logical brain isn't on board. So they want us to be aware of how our two personalities in our mind work, so that we can better understand connecting to the higher frequencies, and being able to co-create with those higher frequencies and bringing them through. It's generally just higher frequencies, as in your desires and what makes you happy, how you can play through your life instead of feeling the doom and the gloom. Whenever you feel that anxiousness, that's a graspingness for the future, and your logical brain sifting through the past to try to fix a problem it cannot see beyond. So anxiousness, it needs to come back to just shush your logical brain, because it doesn't know all the answers, and just be present in the moment and live whatever's happening in this particular moment as fully as possible. So you could be hanging out the washing and you start to get an anxious attack or something. Just feel into the washing, feel into the pegs, feel into how it all goes together, and how you're actually, you're so lucky to be able to hang out washing. Some people don't even have that washing line or clothes to be able to hang up and so forth. So appreciation of where you're at in the specific moment. And then you'll start to feel a calmness. The anxiousness will subside because it's your logical brain is being told it's no longer ruling your life. You don't know what's going to come in the future, but what you do start to acknowledge is how you feel in the present. And when you're feeling confident about yourself in the present, then the confidence overflows into your future naturally. Every step you take is through happiness of yourself, rather than copy and pasting like your logical mind can only do. Copy and paste something that's happened in the past, something that someone told you, something that didn't work out in the past. Because why didn't it work out? Because you're still in anxious mode now, trying to figure out how to get to a place beyond a experience of the past. So in other words, you might have had a falling out with somebody 10 years ago, and then in another 10 years you're like still reliving that same thing pattern through somebody else. Why did that keep happening? Because your anxiousness brought you to that. Your focus is the key point of how you're going to receive the next benefits. And if your focus is on, I love who I am and I know I'm supported, so I don't need to worry anymore, it is always going to be okay, I can step forward and trust this game of life that it is supporting me, then you will always move from step to step through that support into a happier vibration. I almost feel like my higher self is connecting almost to my child self at the moment. It's really interesting. It's like my child self knew my higher self more than what my adult self did. So it's kind of filtering through my child self to be able to have a fuller understanding of my soul's wisdom, and then allowing it to come through. I also am feeling a lot my team right there with me. Like if I said something that wasn't correct or truthful from a higher perspective, then they'll come in and tell me. That sort of feeling. That's interesting because I see them clapping. Okay, so what else have we got now that's coming through for us? That's interesting. Okay, I could try that. Okay, so I decided for this next channeling, I got shown the word book and a pen. So what I'm going to do while I'm channeling is I'm just going to scribble a bit and see what comes up as well while I'm channeling. I do tend to focus on one thing. This is like what I'm focusing on, this back of this card here. That's why I look over in this direction here when I'm channeling, because that shuts my logical brain off when I'm just focused in on one thing. But we'll see what happens with drawing, since I do have that skill as well. I'll just clear some space here. Okay, so they're showing me in my mind an eye, and the eye has the ability to be able to protect oneself, and it's been used against us for a while now. So what they're giving me is that we take that power back of our eye, of our all-knowing of who we are, and trust that that comes through with an alignment of knowing that we deserve more than what we've been looking at the eyes of others to tell us how much we deserve, and they haven't been reflecting back anything other than their own lack. So they're really bringing it back to becoming the observer of your own reality is your protection. If you can do that and become the observer of your own reality, meaning that you take back the essence of your own I, your own proverbial overseer, that you will end up protecting yourself anyway. Our biggest fear is that the logical brain is constantly telling us that our biggest fear is that we jump into some sort of gameplay where if we're trusting ourselves and then we're still reflected with misery and sadness, that all of a sudden we feel like we can't, how can we trust ourselves? But it's the actual literal trust of ourselves that perpetually gets us out of the mess that we're in. So the believer in something becomes the belief first, and then you become protected through that belief that this is going to happen. That's why they were saying, don't worry about the future. You just need to leap into the present moment, knowing that you're going to be supported is enough. So also they're showing me that eye that's coming down as your observer. They're showing me an eagle now flying above and squawking. I can hear it in my head. And as it's soaring down, it can get closer to Gaia, to Earth, and see more. See the little things that create your reality here. See, even in this moment, in this room, there is so much for me to look at, because you can't see it all, but I've got tarot cards and all sorts of things, lights and cameras and all sorts of things around me, microphones and things, and there's so much more that I could look at. But it really, when we are connecting to our higher self, I'm only looking at one thing, right? I'm only focusing in on that card that I showed you before. Now it's on my drawing a little bit more, but as I get used to doing this, I don't know if this is actually going to work, but we're going to have a crack at it. And then because we're focusing in on one thing, it ends up that one thing becomes the reality that you're creating in that given moment. It's what you remember, and it is put in a neuron path in your brain, and it is held there so that whenever you go back, you see, for instance, what I'm drawing, or I'll see the card in my mind when I'm channeling or something like that. Whenever I go back to this moment. Now, why are they bringing that up? They're bringing it up because it literally is our choice on what we're going to focus on. That within every moment of our life, whether we feel that it's the worst scenario or the worst thing that's ever happened in that moment, there is always something that you can look at that goes, wow, that's beautiful, or wow, that's that. And if you go through life like that, you filter through all of the BS and you come to realize that your life is fulfilled not because you are surrounded by everything that you wished for, but because every moment you have learnt to see the best in that moment. You have learnt to focus on the best point of that moment. Anything that's come to you that you don't like and puts you in a very awkward position is showing you that you have not been focusing on the best of life. You've been focusing on the anxiousness, the worry, the concerns, the fears. You've been focusing on a program that's been pulled over your eyes, because we are literal love expressing ourselves every moment, and it's only when we don't feel that about ourselves that we start manifesting all of the things that make us confirm to us that we aren't love, that we aren't worthy of being here, that we aren't worthy of being human. And they're bringing me to the realization that every animal on this planet has a worthiness to it. That's the reason why it survived. That's the reason why it can live out in the wild. It has a known worthiness of being here and expressing itself in the program that, or avatar or body that it is being born through. Humanity has lost that and condemned themselves to a life of guilt and victimization, which then ends up becoming a perpetrator for others, because whenever you're a victim, you overreact, and then you end up being the perpetrator as well to others, to try to protect yourself from confirming that you're loved. You're actually scared to confirm that you're worthy, because what does it even look like if you took that rein back and said, I'm going to be worthy of everything that happens to me from now on. I'm going to allow life to become more than what someone told me I was, or the program itself, which is pretty much in our psyche, the whole, every 5 minutes. You know, as soon as you turn on the news, you've got to feel guilty about someone that died, or someone that passed, or somebody, or some war that's happened, or something that's an outbreak, or some sort of environmental issue, or something. It's just all guilt, 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 guilt. So they're helping us become more aware of our own centered self, and understanding that when we take back the power of ourselves as the observer, as well as moving through our lives in this avatar, this body, the observer being the soul, and our connection to more than what this body or this logical mind can handle, that we'll start bringing in a massive amount of gifts. Those gifts are profoundly unique to each one of us. It's what makes us really happy and excited. That's a good indication. Anything that makes you happy and excited is a good indication of the fact that you're on the right path, and that it doesn't hurt anyone else or yourself. What else have we got? I'm really fixated on this eye. I'm just drawing an eye. Okay. So we're really just flying around like a kite in the sky, And we're really just flying around trying to figure ourselves out, being taken by the wind, not taking any sort of responsibility for how we ride that wind. So, you know, we could get slapped in the face by our own tail, our own issues. Yeah, and they're really trying to get us to take a better understanding and fuller responsibility for that, so that we don't keep slapping ourselves in the face with our own issues. Yeah. What else is there? Yeah, so I just kind of drawn a really quick sketch here while I was channeling as well. So it was really, the most important thing that I think they're trying to say is that when we take back the observer of our reality, the soul of our reality, that we can see beyond the logic of everything, that we allow ourselves to be presently in this moment, moving through life, trusting who we are, trusting our connection to the divine, and that can come back to us from remembering when we were a child. They were bringing me to when I was flying a kite in a park, and in those days, like we're talking 1970s, I would have been about 8 or 9 years old. You could like go out, and I went out past nighttime, like it was dark, and I was still flying my kite and absolutely bliss, just feeling so cool about everything because I was flying my kite under the stars, right? How amazing is that? The park wasn't very far away from my house. It's just a couple of houses down, so I'm sure my mum was like looking out for me at the time, but it was about 7 o'clock at night, and I remember going, wow, this is an experience. Now that is your soul just enjoying the moment. It's just you moving through life as that childlike innocence, but with the wisdom of the do's and don'ts of society, and then how you can connect to your soul to show you a new path around that if you desire to become more than the actual program. It's trusting who you are at the core level, just source energy going on an adventure. So this is what I drew. I'm just going to show you this one. So this is what I drew. So it was an eye and then kind of like a face forming, but then the girl was standing on clouds. You know, a little bit as a child, I was a little bit closer to source energy, so she's up on a cloud, and then that tail of that of the story that I've been on, be careful not to let it whip round and hit me in the eye, so to speak, but moving with the tides of life, and allowing the reflection to show itself as my true essence of my soul, rather than the illusional program that they want us to see or filter our life through as. We don't want to be filtering our life through as that illusional program. So yeah, just also I did this drawing too. It was crazy drawing back a breakthrough on 14th of January 2022, which was just before I started to make massive change within my life, and understanding who I am. See if I can share any others. There's a whole heap of information here. So this was something that I drew back in, when was that? 2013. So this is a interesting picture that I drew. E equals MC squared message I got from a grey ET. I saw his eyes close up and another within that and another within that. Then the equation E equals MC squared. I had to look it up because I wasn't even sure it was an equation, and found the meaning on Google. Energy, E equals energy, M is mass, and C is the speed of light. Thus the mass energy relation states that the universal proportionality factor between equivalent amounts of energy and mass is equal to the speed of light. E equals MC squared, ETI with another I. Einstein found even a small amount of matter had a huge amount of energy in it. Interesting. And then I have on the back of that 4 elements of earth, water, fire and air are very important, as together they can create and connect us to spirit. A dolphin has 4 brains and is connected to higher realms. Channeled. Hello, we are the sector of star system Taurus called Beacon. To laws that fix love and hate and bring many in line with their fate of all of your doing on the earth, there is much love. When we hear your calls, and see the story, we will embrace and code those of which you are one of many to insights and the others and guide them. Do not fear us. We are here to help you and empower you so you can imagine a new loving, honourable, strengthened earth full of values and life. Tomorrow you will start a new adventure. We will guide you. Just relax and come along for the ride. Your children will see they are a part of this and will be important roles in the new dimension of the sixth sight. Bobbie seeks laws and structure from counsel to guide. It doesn't have a date on it, but it would have been around probably the same time, 2013 or something. December 7th, 2013. The girls and I stargazed at around 9 p.m. We saw a tube of light, absolutely massive, stretching across the sky like a giant long rectangle. We could see both ends of it, and it wasn't tapered at the end like a meteorite or, to begin with, just a tube of light hanging in the sky. It was stretched across north to south. It hung there right above us for a few minutes, then slowly moved south and tapered off, looking more like a meteorite falling. Many took photos of it like that, but none like we saw. Then that night I woke at 3:33 and I had a message that's how protected we are now. And that was on the 7th of December 2013. A vision that I saw in 2014, 13th of October, came out of my awakening picture and floated down. Kind of looked like that. More like a small animal though. I couldn't. That turned into a humanoid. It was bizarre. Upper left of the picture and disappeared into the corner of the wall. Moments later, a storm formed outside, and it looked like a lightning struck the tree inside my room. It actually struck the tree right outside the window. I remember that because the girls were like, "What?" 24th of October 2013. That's when the Anunnaki came. The night after that, I think. It was orange UFO outside my window, and somebody else saw it in Maloney where I lived. Oh, this is when I saw the 25th of October 2013. I had 4 Anunnaki beings in my room. This is the dream I had of these 4 beings coming out of UFO, and then I now live in this street. They said, when the governments cease, the seers will be appointed. They will know the areas of Earth that need help, and will appoint those that can help to the areas energetically and physically. Yeah, so that's that dream. Doesn't say the date. Could be around the same time. I dreamt of the flower chrysanthemums on the 12th of January 2015. I knew that they meant death. So when I woke up, I looked it up on Google, and sure enough, it means death. I don't know if it's about a personal death or a global death. Why we need sleep. Not only our bodies need sleep to recoup, but also our souls. Otherwise we go crazy as our souls try to shift into another dimension for rest while we're awake. Every living thing has DMT within it, because every living thing has the ability to travel multidimensionally and not be trapped within the program we chose to experience in this moment. Most people are just trying to get home. Home to me is that still, peaceful feeling you get when your mind has stopped chatting and is in line with your truest wishes. They get stuck by setting conditions on themselves coming true. I'll only be happy when I'm rich, and to get rich I need a job. So their search for a job and living in a 9-to-5 existence creates their unhappy life further away from home. We are taught to look outside ourselves for help and to check how well we are doing, but in actual fact, outside is only a reflection of inside. And so, in changing only the outside without making changes within will only result in the same horrid story popping up in a different scenario. Okay. I'll see if there's any other messages. Let me just tap in. Okay, they're telling me that for those who have done the work, happy days are coming. We're literally letting go of what we thought we were in the past. We're bringing up a whole new happy atmosphere. We're starting to change. We are literally changing the molecular structure energetically of humanity's consciousness by living our happy lives and not worrying about anything that they're trying to pull us into. Leaving anxiety, worry, fear, anger all behind. And every time that does pop up, we're recognizing it as our own lesson to where we are in lack of. It's more of a very much a more simple life that we're forming. Don't worry about the whole hoo-ha of how things are working out, because many of us are gifted with certain gifts that will align with those in the higher vibrations automatically. It just naturally comes together that way, through the happiness of ourselves and willingness to create heaven on earth. There are those that are going to be really in line with an understanding of the plants and food and how to grow plentiful with Gaia, what frequencies to use, which pieces of ground to use, where to grow, where not to grow, what's accepted, what's not accepted, that sort of stuff. Then they will want to align with those that have more understanding of the spiritual world, and then so you end up collaborating together through the love of yourself, and then it'll just end up all working out. Abundance is coming our way because we're expecting it now. We've stepped out of the proverbial lack of program. So the universe just wants to gift us as much as it possibly can, because we decide what we deserve. It's just, there's so much more blessings coming our way, and it has nothing to do with the old program anymore. The more we leave that behind, the more we see it for what it is, the more that we start to create a better existence around us, and just trusting that game by being really present in the moment and trusting. So I'll leave it at that. Love you guys heaps. This was a bit of a heckle-pickle one, because we went into the drawing, which led us into a couple of messages from my past, which led us into another message. So I know it was a bit heckle-pickle, but it's just that I just rather go with the flow and see where it all takes us, and trust that. I think it really feels like, even within this reading that went all over the show, it feels like we're sort of diving in and out of different existences, creating different things, just seeing how it feels and not worrying about the outcome so much. So I think that in itself is saying something for us to just explore and just trust. So until next time, bye.